Hiker's dog starts behaving strangely on the trail before things take a dark turn. There's nothing like getting away from civilization, cell phones and cigarette butts, trading it all for a breath of fresh air and a view that can't be bought. But while most people are satisfied with an afternoon in the park or a weekend out camping, others need a bit more than that to satisfy their fix. An avid hiker cherished the opportunity to explore all the nearly 200,000 miles of national hiking trails throughout the US. But when he and his dog ran into trouble on one of those trails, he faced the possibility of losing his favorite pastime forever. Kyle Roaring had always been a big fan of the outdoors. While his friends may describe him as somewhat of a hippie, he simply loves being among Mother Nature in any way that suits him. But there's one outdoor activity he loves most. According to Kyle, nothing beats a proper hike through the many trails and national parks the US has to offer. There's something about the fresh air, the lack of technology, and the sound of twigs beneath his feet that makes Kyle try one trail after another. However, things changed when he settled down with his girlfriend, Dixie, and they adopted a Shiba Inu. Suddenly, Kyle had a family who needed him home. While Dixie liked to do short hikes, she and the dog Katana were left behind during Kyle's trips. Since it was hard to explain to a dog that Daddy would be home before she knew it, Katana became depressed whenever Kyle left. Every day she looked at her mom as if she were pleading to go with him. Finally, Kyle had to make a tough decision. Not wanting Katana to be sad, he figured he'd give it a shot and hike an easy trail with her. The results? It went perfectly. She loved every second of the freedom out there and getting to explore new places. He said, "I truly think that's every dog's dream." Within a few months, the pair had completed the 2,200-mile Appalachian Trail together, enjoying each other's company on top of all of nature's perks. But when they were in the middle of a 2,650-mile hike of the Pacific Crest Trail, things went awry. It seemed Katana had vision problems and was hurting in one of her eyes. It was affecting her ability to walk. Fearing the worst, Kyle cut the hike short and took his pup to a local veterinarian whose diagnosis came as quite a shock. As it turned out, Katana was suffering from glaucoma and needed to get her eye removed to soothe the pain. It was clear that she and her owners were scared of the procedure, but they knew what had to be done. Luckily, the surgery went well, and although Katana's depth perception was off, she recovered rather quickly and was ready to get back out there and hike another trail. But as soon as she'd adapted to being a one-eyed pooch, another tragedy struck. As the vet had warned Kyle, Katana had a high chance of losing her other eye to glaucoma as well. Another surgery later and she was completely blind, not to mention scared. At first she was very cautious and timid about doing anything. So to help her through her recovery, Kyle took some time off from his adventures and stayed home to care for Katana. He was laying low and hanging out with his friends, but being away from nature for so long was weighing him down. That was when Kyle decided to compromise. Surely Katana was missing Mother Nature too. So what if they simply went camping together? Excited by the idea, he, his dog, and his buddy set off to spend the night in a local forest to see how Katana would behave. Surprisingly enough, Katana had no issues being back out in the wilderness. With a wagging tail and a cheerful bark, it was clear she'd missed the outdoors, which made Kyle wonder, would she ever be able to hike again? There was only one way to find out. The two best buds were going to hike the Florida Trail, even though Kyle knew it would be a challenge. It was very wet, muddy, buggy, and at times we were wading through water, mud, or swamp for miles, sometimes up to my waist, he said. It was a tough, wet year to hike this trail. Although Kyle didn't mind carrying Katana on his shoulders, the blind dog's fear and anxiety were not making things easy. We'd been eating and sleeping her blindness for months, but out there in the trail, we were breathing it as well. Then a miracle happened. One night when Kyle thought Katana was sound asleep, he found her wandering behind the tent. Up until that moment, she'd only walked around independently at home, never in a strange place like this. Within days, Katana was suddenly leading the hike. I don't know how she did it, but she led me down the trail perfectly, without hitting a single obstacle, while accounting for every twist and turn in the trail, Kyle said. She went from cautious and timid to confident and curious. It was emotional seeing her do so well, he added, as if nothing had changed since our nostalgic days when we were first getting into long-distance hiking. With such a positive spirit and a newfound courage, they managed to finish hiking the entire trail. Even though it was a difficult time for both friends, it goes to show that one must never give up hope or give up on their loved ones. When I brought Katana out here, it was either to sink or swim, Kyle stated, the only catch being I wasn't going to let her sink. As Kyle found out, bringing animals along on trips can be a soothing experience.